Hello and welcome back to another episode from me, FPL Crusader. This is the FPL Gameweek 28 preview list. Now, I will say this to start off with. We are about to get smashed by a cyclone here in Brisbane, Cyclone ALFRED. So, I'm doing this 3 days before the deadline because I'm expecting to lose power in a couple of days, or at least in the next 24 hours, they reckon. So, all of the information's up to date as per, but I won't have deadline or... It's not a deadline stream and there's no deadline information. But as it stands now, let's have a look at the injuries and suspensions list. I didn't realize that Anthony Gordon was suspended, but he is suspended until game week 31. Returning on the 7th of April. He is 12% owned. Speaking of suspension, 16% owned, suspended until game week 31 as well. Matheus Cunha. Now, there's a huge potential for him to be suspended longer. Some people are 50-50 about it, to be honest. But realistically, I think he will be. Lewis Hall is out. Most likely out. It's doubtful, but you'd say he's out. He's got an ankle injury. He's 21% owned. It is an interesting... Newcastle have an interesting game this week. They're away to West Ham. So I guess maybe Hall could miss that one if he was unsure. 9% owned still. Bukayo Saka. Still roughly 10% owned, which is interesting. A hammy. He was to... return in game week 28, and we banked that a few weeks ago, saying that he could be someone to look at for the blank game week in 29. Sorry, he was supposed to return, and it was someone we were considering, especially if Cole Palmer didn't pull his finger out. It seemed like a like-for-like swap, but that's been pushed out to game week 30 now. 10% owned. He's got a head injury, doubtful. Game week 30 return. Who knows? Mateta. He probably won't play this weekend. He's in my team, actually, but he probably won't play, which means he gets 29 off because I've got a blank. Do they need it this week? They got Ipswich at home. I don't think they need to push the envelope, really. So he probably won't play, to be honest. I'm not really sure how bad the injury is yet. He might not be back for game week 30, but we'll keep you informed as best we can. 7% owned still is Nicholas Jackson. He's got a hammy. He's coming back in game week 30, but you almost guarantee he won't be getting 4 minutes, considering the way Chelsea's playing currently. They're playing, I wouldn't say they're playing well, but they're getting scoring options from all across the park now that Cole Palmer's not dominating things. So I'd say that ease him back into it because they're not desperate for him to join the squad. So those are the top 6 that I could see in terms of ownership in the FPL landscape, and that's the injuries and suspension. And interestingly enough, Newcastle copped a double whammy there. In terms of the fixtures this week, Chelsea have Leicester, Crystal Palace have Ipswich, and Liverpool has Southampton. Those are the plum fixtures. Wolves have Everton, but without Cunha, you'd probably say Everton could maybe hold them to a draw. And I'm not even sure who's going to take the penalties and or free kicks for Wolves. Someone else needs to step up there. So I personally would have brought in Cunha this week for Mateta, especially considering he's injured and he doesn't have 29, but that's just not the case. So let's move on to shots right now. And that man, the myth, the legend, Mo Salah, 25 goals, 82 shots, 52 on target. He's banking 1 out of 2. Haaland's got 20 goals, but it's from 54. So he's almost 1 in 3. Isaac's just behind him now with 19 goals. Chris Wood on 18. Palmer's stuck on 14, it seems. Cunha's getting up there with 13. So he's sneaking a few goals, even though he's relatively low owned compared to most other strikers. He's still sneaking a few goals in. Kluivert with 12. Let me just adjust that. He got a goal last week, and also Wissa with 12 as well. So Wissa and Kluivert, very interesting there. Interesting. Wissa's there, and Mbeumo's not. So what does that mean for next season? I think Mbeumo could be leaving next season. So Wissa could be a very viable FPL option next season moving forward. What does this table really show us? Palmer's had a lot of shots. Not a lot on target. So 70 shots, but only 40 on target. 14 goals out of those. So he is still taking the shots. He had 1 shot goal right at the start of the game, and he hit it straight into the keeper. If he had put that in the back of the net, then I think the floodgates would have opened. But alas, it didn't. Cunha's still playing well, as I said, and so is Mateta, but they're both out this week. So if you've got any of the players on this list, I've got Kluivert, myself, and Mateta, and Wood, and Isaac, and Salah, obviously. So if you've got any players on this list, you're probably doing pretty well. Other players that are just off the list are Watkins. He's actually dropping down. You can see him down there on the bottom Get my lefts and rights mixed up. Bottom right, you can see him in the bottom right, but he's actually dropping off this list quite significantly. He's having an okay season, but I think last season was his purple patch, whereas this season he's gone back to the norm. I'm using a site called Fantasy Football Pundit. I'm no longer affiliated with them, so I'm not advertising for them. But the next few slides will be interesting stats that I've found on their site, so I've decided to share them with you all. This is the form guide over the last 6 game weeks. No surprises. Mo Salah's right at the top. That 80 is the form value. It's not points. 72% owned. Clivert is next, and then Trent. So you can see, just looking down this list, looking at the team's emblems, you can see it's a lot of Palace and a lot of Liverpool. Even Dango's down the bottom there. It's pretty much dominated by those 3 teams, apart from Beto getting in there. Those of you who had Beto, congratulations. Szoboszlai is very interesting, being the 3rd Liverpool asset there. He started to flourish under the slot system. I don't think he's ever going to be as devastating as Mo Salah is, so you're always going to need Mo. But if you wanted to double up an attack specifically, not necessarily with Trent, then Szoboszlai seems to be playing pretty well, and he's starting to understand the system a bit better. And things, I don't want to say they're getting easier, but he's definitely playing better, that's for sure. Who else we got there? Mateta, as I said. Chris Wood was near the top the last couple of weeks, but he's kind of backed off a bit now. Munoz, he's the one over the last few weeks that's really shot up there. And also Allison, but I mean, he's a goalkeeper, so who cares, right? Here's the XGI over the last 6 game weeks. Salah's at the top. Interestingly enough, Haaland's up there as well. So Salah's got such a big lead on everyone else that Haaland's second with pretty much no XA. Palmer's up there with 21 in terms of just behind Haaland, but he's still 5 XGI below Salah. Now, 5 XGI in this context doesn't seem like a lot, but it's huge. We're talking maybe 8-10 games to get 5 XGI. That's how out of his skin Salah is playing this season. It's good to see Isaac and Mbeumo up there. Watkins is up there. He's just not getting as many returns as you'd hope. Bruno's getting more and more, and he's slowly working his way up this table. Expect Gordon to drop off, but Bruno will slowly work his way up this table. He's got 13 XGI. I expect him to do very well against Arsenal this week. I'm not sure why, but I expect him to do relatively well against the Arsenal outfit this week. But yeah, very interesting. And Mbeumo and Wissa both with the XGI. So are they about to go on a run? I think so. And another slide on Fantasy Football Pundit is expected points. This is specifically for this next game week. And before I run through the names, you'll see exactly why. Look at the fixtures. Leicester, Southampton, Leicester, Ipswich. That's why all the expected points are quite high. For the 2nd season in a row, the promoted teams are being targeted, and rightly so, because they are giving up the most amount of chances, the most amount of points, and the most goals. Palmer is expected to be the top scorer, just pipping out Mo Salah. And Kunku is next, which is very interesting. Apart from his goal last week, he was almost, I don't want to say insignificant, but he was almost just running around the ball, if that made sense. I thought Neto was a far better player. I have Nkunku in my team. I don't have Neto, but I thought Neto was far better on the ball. Eze, very interesting. He's getting some points now. Will he take that mantle that Mateta's not there, so will he take the goals, or will it be Sarr, who's just behind him there on 5 predicted points compared to the 5.3? Trossard is the only Arsenal person on this list. And interestingly enough, Watkins is there, but we know that Aston Villa do not travel very well, so he'd be lucky to get that 4.75 points this week. The featured man for me is Sarr, because I think he's the one that'll step up with Mateta gone, and I think he'll step up and get some goals. I expect this week against Ipswich. So referee cards, Mike Dean is the number 1 in terms of giving cards per match. Anthony Taylor is number 2 at 3.95 per match, and he is doing the big match of the week, Manchester United against Arsenal. So if you've got Bruno Fernandes, could be a captaincy option. He won't be one of my recommendations, but it could be a captaincy option. The only other person there is Stuart Atwell, who's doing the, what do they call it? Garden Centre match. Over here, we'll call it the Bunnings match. Wolves versus Everton. But realistically, if you've got Anthony Taylor and if you've got someone who takes free kicks, penalties, or corner kicks, then I'd say play them, regardless if you think they're going to win, because this guy blows more than Hurricane Alfred, or it's more than Cyclone Alfred currently, but I think Anthony Taylor will give away a few free kicks this weekend. So if you've got Bruno, or even if you've got like a Garnacho, could be one to play. Let's look at captaincy this week. So my top 3 for captaincy will be Salah, Mbeumo, and Palmer. Salah, why not? I think he's going to destroy anyone that he plays against. Apologies, I haven't actually updated the text, so don't worry about that. But I can just talk to it. So Salah has Southampton away, so at home. But the only concern I have is that he might be rested against Southampton because of the fixture schedule coming up. That's my only concern. And Mbeumo, Aston Villa at home. Forget what that says for game week 26. Aston Villa at home. They don't travel very well, and Mbeumo will probably score some points. I reckon he'll get another goal. I think he's about to go on a run. I think Brentford themselves are about to go on a run. And Palmer, Leicester at home. I mean, he just needs to play himself into form. If we have a look at the goals per 90 right here, that man, Asensio's worked his way right up. He scored again midweek as well. So he's in rare goal scoring form. He's such a huge punt if you want him in your team, but why not? See, Big Cess got a goal, so he's up at 1.03 per 90, purely because he hasn't played many minutes. Salah's almost there, and he's played every minute. Isaac, Haaland, Wood, and Beto and Marmoush round out the top 10. But in terms of captaincy, I've got Salah and Mbeumo and Palmer as my top 3, and I think I'll be going one of them this week. Once again, I didn't update the text, so forget about this. But my 3 differentials for the week will be Ismaila Sarr, Ipswich at home, Dominic Szoboszlai, Southampton at home, and Pedro Neto, Leicester at home. As I said to you earlier, every man and his dog is targeting specifically Leicester lately, but definitely the 3 promoted teams. So Sarr should step up for Mateta and be the main man. I don't think Eze can play up top and be effective in terms of a team game, but Sarr can. Whether or not he'll come in from the wing and do that, I'm not entirely sure, but he definitely will get more chances. Szoboszlai, as I said, is flourishing under the system, and I expect him to continue. He's less likely to be rested for this game because he could easily be rested midweek when they've got other people that can slot in from, the likes of Curtis Jones. Even Gakpo can play where he plays, and definitely Alexis McAllister. So they can move people around, but they don't really like moving Mo Salah around for the important games. So I expect Bozo to play 4 minutes there. And Pedro Neto, he seems to be the link that's helping people score lately. Chelsea have Leicester at home. Leicester don't travel well. Leicester don't play very good at home very well. So I'm far expecting Neto to do really well this week and at least get 1, maybe 2 goals. That's a big statement, but I think he'll do well. I'm not sure if we get 2. Hopefully he gets 1. Otherwise I look like a fool. And the goals scored this season so far, once again, Liverpool way out in front. If you take away Mo's 25, then they're well down, but way out in front on 66. Interestingly enough, Manchester City are back up to second at 53, equal with Spurs. Chelsea just behind them. Arsenal's up there as well, which is interesting considering it seems like they can't buy a goal lately. And I expected Bournemouth to be higher than that, but I think they took a while to get going this season. So 45 is pretty good. Top 8, that's not too bad. Newcastle fans will be disappointed with their offensive output. They should be top 4 in theory. So, yeah, they should be. And we've all been talking about how good Brighton is this season and how deadly their attacking team is. They're not even on this list. So it just shows how average they were mid-season. That being said, the last 3 or 4 games, they've probably been the form team in the Premier League. I play Fantasy Challenge. I do it for kicks. I don't really take it too seriously, but it's interesting to see what they think will be good chip strategies or maybe new chips in Fantasy Challenge. So this week, it's just double points for the Assistant Manager. It's called the Assistant Manager Series. And this week, I've gone Ruben Amorim as my manager because I think they can get a result against Arsenal at Old Trafford. For this particular week, I've gone 3 times Palace because I got Ipswich at home, as I've said. So I got Henderson in goal, I've got Munoz, and I've got Sarr. I've got 2 Liverpool and 2 Fulham because Fulham play exceedingly well against Brighton. For some reason, we've got a really good record against them. I don't think there's any rhyme or reason for it. Maybe we're their bogey team, but whatever it is, we play very well against them. We are traveling down there to play against, so we're the away team, so that will count against us. But I'll stop saying against now. I've said it like 10 times in a row. But I think we can get a result down there. So I've got Robinson and Raul Jimenez. He should retain his starting spot. I've got Bruno in the team. Amram's the bonus man, and then Palmer is the captain. So team is Henderson, Munoz, Trent, Robinson. I got Bruno, Palmer, Szoboszlai, Salah, Raul, and Isaac. No Salah here because I think he'll get benched. That's fine. Don't worry about challenge too much. Just set and forget and then walk away. This is where it all counts. This is my fantasy Premier League team. I've rolled the transfer this week, and I'm a little bit nervous about my team, but I wanted 2 transfers for 29 because originally I had planned to bring in Ryan Aït-Nouri and Matheus Cunha, but now that Cunha is injured, I won't be bringing him in, and I'm not really sure if I need to bring in Ryan Aït-Nouri because, I mean, without Cunha, are they actually going to do any good? I'm not entirely sure. Wood and Murillo are benched because they've got City at home, and I just can't guarantee whether they're going to do that flash. That being said, I've got Mateta starting in the team at home to Ipswich, and as you can see from the photo there, he got smashed in the face by the stupid Millwall keeper. So he could very well be benched, and I might get some jam from Wood. I'll prefer to play Mateta, but we'll see how we go there. So the team lines up as Pickford in goal, Munoz, Mazraoui. I'm expecting the United to get a result against Arsenal, and Huijsen in the back. I got Mbeumo, the double up of Chelsea midfielders who both served me very well last week with Nkunku and Palmer. I've got Kluivert and Salah as well, and then Mateta and Isaac up front. Mateta could come out and would go in. And then on the bench, I got Murillo and Vandenberg, who's actually injured. So the only reason I bought Vandenberg in game week 21, which was my wild card, is so that he would have been part of my game week 29 team. Now I have to use a transfer to get him out. Likely to be Vardio. Next week, if Mateta's not coming back, he's only got one good game, and then his amazing run of fixtures peters out. It's not bad. It's just not great. But I'm thinking about bringing in a double City team of Marmoush and Vardio, which I think I've got enough money in the bank because you can see I've got 1.8 million there. So if I get rid of Vandenberg, who's very cheap, but Mateta, who is not so cheap, I think I should be all right to do that there. So that's how my team stacks up. I'm captaining Palmer, vice captain Salah. I'll probably move that vice captaincy to... I'll leave it there because there's no one else that's really screaming out. I'm just worried if they both got benched, but Palmer will play. So 64 points according to FPL team. I reckon we can do 75 here. I reckon that could be a good game week. And I think Chris Wood could potentially score against City, but I'm not willing to take that gamble unless I'm forced to by Mateta being out. So there's my team. I better run. I need to put some sandbags down in front of my house because we're about to flood. So thank you very much for tuning in. Good luck for everyone in the upcoming game week 28. It's still Wednesday here, so hopefully the power will be back on by the time the footy starts. If not, have a good game week, and thank you for tuning in. Hope all the arrows are green. Any differential score hat tricks. My name's Luke, FPL Crusader. Thank you for watching.